When a dinner party becomes a national security nightmare, you know the stakes are higher than anyone imagined. 220 guests walked into that banquet hall, but not all of them came for the food. They came for something far more dangerous: access. Reports claim foreign nationals snapped up millions of dollars worth of digital tokens tied directly to the president's brand, and with that purchase came a seat at the table. But the most alarming part wasn't just the money, it was the silence. When Senator Merkley pressed for answers, Attorney General Pam Bondi dodged, deflected, and turned the spotlight toward anything but the question of foreign influence. That's when the alarm bells truly began to ring.
To make America safe, and you asked me the question, and keep America safe.
Do you
and
know
you're trying to play a gotcha question at a budget hearing when you have murders left and right in your state, violent crimes, and we are doing everything we can to help your liberal state, whether you're liberal or not. We're going to do everything we can to help the citizens of your state, and you're trying to avoid that because you're trying to play a gotcha question with the President of the United States, and it's not going to work. We're here to talk about our budget for public safety.
I do believe that as the leader of the Department of Justice, you should be concerned about foreign influence. There was obviously a lot of foreign influence and individuals who said they were there for that reason. And so will you appoint a special investigator to make sure that that foreign influence does not affect the policies of the United States of America?
I'm not going to tell you what I will or will not do, other than I will do everything to keep the people of your state safe, even though you don't want to talk about anything to do with your state because of the crime in your state. You also voted no on the Laken-Riley Act. We are doing everything we can to protect the citizens of this country. You also said that President Trump encouraged protest. It was the opposite. He's done everything he can to keep us safe, and he will continue to, as well as the Department of Justice.
It speaks volumes that you won't answer the question about transparency when the president is asking people to invest in his company and his products, and that foreigners are attending these events. I think transparency would be appropriate. Are you going to recommend any ethics guidelines to make sure that foreign influence does not find its way in through the doors of the White House?
How do you characterize foreigners, the illegal aliens that have flowed into our country? Is that who you're talking about? You don't want to talk about them. You don't want to talk about the crime that has gone rampant throughout this country and your state.
Well, you know, these hearings are a chance for us to ask questions, and I assure you I'm engaged in national security in many, many ways. But this also I am concerned about, and let me turn to a different piece of the puzzle, because the president also has another cryptocurrency called USD1. It is a stable coin. There was a request by UAE to produce AI chips that would go to UAE. The National Security Advisor of UAE is also the CEO of MGX. So after that request for those chips occurred, MGX then said, we will buy 2 billion, billion with a B, of the president's coins. And then the president went to the Middle East and said, we will get you those AI chips. Does this sequence of events in which a foreign government asks for a big favor, and we had previously banned these chips to UAE because of the national security concerns. Then they buy $2 billion of the president's coins, and then the president goes to the Middle East and says, we will provide those chips. Does that sequence of events concern you about foreign influence on the United States of America?
The foreign influence on America that I would be concerned about if I were you was the Mexican national that resided in Oregon, who we just arrested, who had 384 pounds of methamphetamine. The foreign individual who I would be concerned about if I were a senator from Oregon is the Honduran drug trafficker who was residing in Portland for distributing fentanyl. The foreign national I would be concerned about if I was a Portland senator, an Oregon senator, is a Mexican national leader of a drug trafficking ring. Another one, fentanyl, firearms, fatal overdoses, all in your state.
You have made your point.
57,700 fentanyl pills and stolen firearms in Oregon. That's what we should work together on, not gotcha questions during a budget hearing.
Let me recognize Senator Merkley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Attorney General certainly has made the point that she's very concerned about issues that I'm concerned about as well regarding the security of this country. But let the record note that in terms of foreign influence and the sale of foreign influence through the president's
Was this just a tacky fundraiser or a pay-to-play pipeline where American policy could be sold off one meme coin at a time? Stay with us because what you're about to hear will change how you see politics forever. 220 carefully selected guests filled the room that night not because of loyalty, not because of shared ideals, but because of money. This wasn't an ordinary political fundraiser, it was a showcase built around a digital token branded as more than just currency, it was sold as influence. Each seat was tied to investment and each investment was tied to access. Some attendees weren't longtime supporters or local donors, they were powerful investors, business figures, and as reports suggest, foreign nationals with ambitions that stretched far beyond casual speculation. The line between policy and profit blurred instantly. Senator Jeff Merkley cut straight to the heart of the matter: who exactly was in the room. His concern wasn't about coins as a gimmick, but whether foreign money was being funneled directly into American politics under the disguise of a dinner ticket. If true, it meant that decisions shaping the nation's future might not be made in the halls of Congress but in private banquet rooms where tokens replaced votes. And as Merkley's words echoed through the hearing, the question lingered like smoke: was this dinner just a party or a silent auction for the highest bidder? What made the gathering even more unsettling wasn't just the scale of the event, it was who showed up. Among the attendees was Javier Arcelgos, the head of Freight Technology Inc., who openly admitted he wasn't there out of curiosity. He confessed to buying $2 million worth of tokens and announced his intention to increase that figure to $20 million. His motive was as clear as it was alarming: he wanted U.S. freight policy with Mexico rewritten in his favor. This wasn't a casual investor, it was someone treating political access as a business transaction, a way to reshape national policy through private purchases. And if one man was bold enough to say it out loud, how many others were quietly thinking the same thing? Reports suggest he was far from the only one using this digital pipeline to push for influence. Some attendees weren't even American citizens, raising the specter of foreign nationals leveraging their wallets for a seat at the table. What began as a flashy dinner party was beginning to look more like a marketplace where tokens were exchanged not just for status but for power. And that raised the question: how deep did this scheme truly go? By this point, the focus had shifted from money to something much larger: national security. Senator Merkley's line of questioning wasn't about nitpicking campaign gimmicks, it was about the integrity of American sovereignty itself. When foreign investors gain entry to a private political event by buying into a coin tied directly to influence, the stakes are no longer financial, they're existential. Suddenly, the idea of a meme coin stopped being harmless speculation and became a potential Trojan horse for backdoor diplomacy. Imagine the scenario: policy decisions shaped not in the open halls of Congress but in whispered conversations over dinner plates purchased through digital tokens. Every American should ask, if access can be bought this easily, what prevents a foreign power from quietly steering decisions that affect our economy, our borders, or even our national defense? The imagery is chilling: an auction disguised as a dinner with sovereignty on the line. Merkley pressed for answers but none came. Instead, evasions and diversions filled the room, and with every unanswered question, suspicion only grew stronger. Was this truly a political fundraiser or the opening chapter of a new form of foreign interference wrapped in the shiny packaging of cryptocurrency? If the dinner itself raised eyebrows, the numbers that surfaced afterward sent shockwaves. Reports circulated that one attendee had poured a staggering $82 million into the coin tied to this political circle. This wasn't the kind of purchase made for novelty or bragging rights, it was a financial move big enough to tilt the scales of power. At that level, the investment wasn't about speculation, it was about leverage. It raised the question every American dread: was policy itself being sold to the highest bidder? Such a figure turned a flashy crypto stunt into something much darker. $82 million isn't a seat at the table, it's practically the purchase of the table itself. And once that amount of money is on the line, influence becomes unavoidable. What policies could be bent, what regulations could be softened, and what favors could be expected in return? For Merkley, this wasn't about numbers, it was about credibility. If such massive sums could be tied to private political events, then the integrity of American governance was under siege. And the more details emerged, the clearer it became this wasn't just speculation gone wild. It was the blueprint of a pay-to-play pipeline hiding in plain sight. Just when the story seemed like it couldn't get more alarming, new revelations tied the coin scheme to the Middle East. Reports surfaced that a foreign government had requested advanced AI chips, a technology previously restricted due to serious national security concerns. Not long after that request, a company with direct ties to that same government announced it would purchase billions, yes, billions of dollars worth of the branded digital coins. And shortly after, a deal was struck to deliver the very chips that had once been off-limits. The timing was impossible to ignore. Billions of dollars in digital tokens changed hands, followed by an about-face on a critical technology transfer. For Senator Merkley, this wasn't coincidence, it was a dangerous pattern. A foreign government appeared to have leveraged coin purchases as a bargaining chip, blurring the line between financial investment and political influence. This wasn't just about dinner guests anymore. It was about the possibility of foreign powers buying their way into America's most sensitive decisions. If AI technology once considered too dangerous to export could suddenly be unlocked after a massive coin purchase, what else could be on the auction block? The question loomed: was sovereignty itself now a commodity with a price tag? When pressed for answers, the nation's top law enforcement officer didn't lean into transparency. Instead, the questioning spiraled into deflection after deflection. Rather than addressing the possibility of foreign nationals using coins to buy influence, the response veered toward crime statistics, drug trafficking, and border security. Serious issues, no doubt, but far from the subject at hand. To many listening, it felt like a textbook diversion, a way to dodge the uncomfortable spotlight and shift attention away from the real concern. The exchange revealed more than just political theater. It suggested a reluctance, maybe even a refusal, to confront the deeper danger that Senator Merkley kept raising: the erosion of democratic safeguards through financial backchannels. Every time the focus strayed from coins and influence, it only reinforced suspicion that the answers, if given, might be more explosive than anyone was willing to admit publicly. For viewers, the frustration was palpable. Why avoid a direct answer if there was nothing to hide? Instead of clarity, Americans were left with more questions and the sense that something critical was being kept from them. And as the evasions piled up, one reality became undeniable: the harder the questions pressed, the faster the conversation ran in circles. By the time the back and forth reached its peak, the issue was no longer just about coins, it was about accountability. Senator Merkley made it clear that his concern wasn't partisan theater, it was about whether foreign interests were quietly shaping American policy through financial pipelines that looked like harmless gimmicks on the surface. The refusal to provide direct answers only fueled suspicion. If nothing inappropriate had happened, why not simply say so? Instead, the evasions created the appearance of a cover-up. Merkley framed it in stark terms: this wasn't about speculation or political point scoring, it was about sovereignty. Every American deserves the assurance that decisions in Washington are being made by elected officials, not bought up by investors with foreign ties. When those assurances aren't given, trust erodes, and with it the foundation of democracy itself. The clash crystallized the stakes of the entire hearing. On one side, a senator demanding clarity and safeguards against foreign money creeping into the system. On the other, a Justice Department unwilling or unable to directly confront the allegations. The result was an unsettling silence that hung heavier than any words could. And it left the public asking: if transparency is too much to ask for, what else is being hidden? In the end, the hearing revealed far more in its silences than in its answers. Senator Merkley laid out the concern plainly: foreign money and political influence should never occupy the same space, yet the coin saga suggested they might already be colliding. The refusal to address those concerns didn't resolve the issue, it amplified it. Each deflection left the impression that the public wasn't being told the full story, and when transparency vanishes, trust collapses. At its core, this wasn't about digital tokens, dinners, or even politics as usual. It was about the integrity of American decision-making. If billions in coin purchases can align with major policy shifts, then the question becomes unavoidable: who is really pulling the strings? Are choices made for the benefit of citizens, or are they shaped in secret by investors with foreign ties? For many watching, the takeaway was chilling. Sovereignty isn't lost in a single dramatic moment, it slips away quietly, one transaction at a time. And if this pattern continues unchecked, it could redefine the very meaning of democracy. So what do you think? Are these just coincidences or signs of something much deeper? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns you won't find anywhere else.